Somewhere out there, a planet's own star is slowly eating it. Glass storms move sideways at hurricane speed, and a giant planet's rings could stretch wider than the full moon. But one of these worlds shouldn't exist by the rules of weather itself. Real metal falls from its sky as rain. The planet that broke astronomy. Long before any planet outside our solar system was confirmed to exist, astronomers assumed planets could only form around living stars like our Sun. About 2,300 light-years away, in the constellation Virgo, that assumption collapsed in 1992. Radio astronomers Alexander Volsjan and Dale Frail were listening to a pulsar, the collapsed core left behind after a massive star explodes, spinning and flashing a beam of radio waves like a lighthouse, in this case, about 161 times every single second. A full rotation finishing in less time than it takes a person to blink. Tiny, regular wobbles in that beam revealed something astronomers thought was impossible. Planets, at least 2 of them, orbiting the wreckage of a star that had already died in a supernova. If you had asked any astronomer the week before whether a planet could survive a supernova and keep orbiting the remains, the answer would have been no. Wolfsjan and Frail were not even looking for planets. They were listening to a dead star's heartbeat and found company living in the wreckage. The first confirmed worlds beyond our solar system in the history of astronomy, found in the last place anyone thought to look. The planet blacker than coal. Some worlds shine, this one swallows light instead. About 750 light-years away in the constellation Draco sits TRES-2b, a planet first spotted in 2006 and measured for reflectivity in 2011 by astronomer David Kipping and his colleague David Spiegel, using NASA's Kepler telescope. Astronomers expected a faint but visible reflection, the same way any planet bounces back a little starlight. Instead, they measured an albedo, meaning how much light a surface reflects, of less than 1%, making TRES-2b darker than fresh coal, darker than black paint. The planet is not black by nature. Its atmosphere holds light-absorbing chemicals and glows a faint dull red from its own internal heat, like a dying ember rather than a mirror. If you flew past it in a spacecraft, running lights and all, the planet's disk would barely register against the black of space around it, a shadow shaped like a world. Even the telescope built to hunt for starlight nearly missed a planet built to swallow it. The instrument meant to measure a planet's brightness instead measured its almost total absence, and that gap in the data became the discovery itself. The world with 2 suns. Picture 2 sunrises in the same morning, one gold, one dim red, both climbing the same sky. About 200 light-years away in the constellation Cygnus, the Kepler Space Telescope found exactly that world in 2011, when astronomer Lawrence Doyle and his team confirmed it. Kepler 16b circles not one star, but a true binary pair, 2 suns locked in their own tight orbit around each other, closer together than Mercury circles our sun. The planet itself is roughly the size of Saturn, cold and gaseous, swinging around both stars once every 229 days. Walk out onto a cloud-top platform there, and you would watch both suns rise and set at different times and different angles, sometimes overlapping into a double dawn, sometimes trading places across weeks. Astronomers almost dismissed the signal as noise in the data, twice, before the pattern of 2 overlapping eclipses convinced them a real planet was crossing 2 real stars. Long before real astronomers found it, science fiction had already imagined a desert world with 2 suns. Kepler 16b turned that fictional backdrop into a documented physical system, precise enough that its own discoverer called it the best measured planet outside our solar system. The ringed giant. Off in the constellation Centaurus, roughly 434 light-years from Earth, astronomer Eric Mamajek and colleagues spotted something strange dimming a young star's light in 2012, and by 2015, Leiden astronomer Matthew Kenworthy had worked out why. J1407b is a giant planet, or possibly a small companion star, wrapped in a ring system so wide it makes Saturn's rings look like a rumor. The rings span roughly 75 million miles across, built from dozens of individual bands with gaps carved out by unseen moons still forming inside them. That single measurement is almost as wide as the distance between Earth and the Sun, wrapped entirely around one planet. The eclipse it caused lasted for weeks straight, far longer than any known planet crossing could explain, and nobody could account for it until the ring theory took hold. If you swap those rings in for Saturn's own, astronomers say they would appear wider than the full moon in our night sky, and easily visible after dark if the whole system were not hundreds of light years too far away for anyone to actually see it. The Iron Rain Planet. One side of this world never sees darkness, the other never sees light. 640 light-years away, in the constellation Pisces, WASP-76b was discovered in 2016 and mapped in real detail by 2020, when astronomer David Ehrenreich of the University of Geneva led the team that confirmed what was happening on its surface. Daytime temperatures climb past 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt the steel beams holding up a skyscraper. So hot that iron itself turns to gas and rises into the sky the way water vapor rises on Earth. If you stood on the boundary between day and night, called the Terminator line, you would watch that iron vapor drift into the permanent darkness on the other side, cool in an instant, and fall back down as rain, real liquid metal striking the ground like a summer storm. And the storm cycle never stops. Iron rains down, only to boil back into vapor by morning, over and over, because the planet is locked in place and never rotates out of the furnace. Ehrenreich's team only confirmed the iron rain by splitting starlight passing through the planet's edge, catching the chemical fingerprint of vaporized metal no one expected to see so clearly, proof that on some worlds, the weather report is written in ore. The planet being eaten alive. 1,200 light-years away in the constellation Auriga, WASP-12b completes a full year in just over one Earth day, about the time between one sunrise and the next. Discovered by astronomer Leslie Hebb and her team in 2008, the planet orbits so close to its star that gravity has stretched it into the shape of an egg instead of a sphere. The star's pull is slowly stripping the planet apart, pulling streams of gas away into a hot disk that spirals inward and feeds the star itself. Cross that orbit in a spacecraft, and you would fly through a haze of the planet's own stolen atmosphere, glowing gas being fed to the star like fuel into a furnace. NASA estimates the planet has only about 10 million years left before it is consumed completely, a blink of an eye by cosmic standards, and every year, the star strips away another sliver of what is left. It is a preview, on fast forward, of the slow-motion fate waiting billions of years from now for planets sitting closer to home, including some in our own solar system. The Sideways Glass Storm. Discovered in 2005 and confirmed to have a very unusual color in 2013 by astronomer Thomas Evans and colleagues, HD 189733b sits about 64 light-years from Earth in the constellation Vulpecula. Hubble telescope measurements of polarized light revealed the planet glows a deep cobalt blue, the kind of blue you would expect from an ocean, not a nightmare. The color comes from tiny particles of silicate, the same mineral family as window glass, suspended high in a scorching atmosphere. Winds on this planet roar past 5,400 miles per hour, more than 20 times faster than the fastest wind gust ever recorded on Earth, and they blow those glass particles sideways instead of down. If you crossed into that wind, you would not feel rain. You would feel the atmosphere itself sandblasting past you, sharp enough to strip metal. The color came from a phenomenon no one expected on a planet already scorching enough to boil lead. The same winds that make HD 189733b beautiful from a telescope would flay a spacecraft down to bare metal in seconds. A blue marble that kills anything that gets close enough to admire it. The Lava Ocean World. About 41 light-years away, in the constellation Cancer, a planet named 55 Cancri never gets a break from its own star. Confirmed in 2004 by astronomer Barbara MacArthur and her team, the planet orbits so tightly that a full year lasts only about 18 hours, and the star-facing side reaches temperatures near 4,400 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature that would liquefy platinum on the spot. The planet is tidally locked, so one face always burns while the other stays in permanent, slightly cooler darkness, and heat never gets the chance to even out between them. If you dropped a probe onto the day side, it would not survive contact, melting before it finished its landing sequence, sinking into a surface more liquid than solid. Yet the exact chemistry underneath the crust is still an open question. Some scientists believe the planet's carbon-rich composition and crushing internal pressure could form diamond deep below the surface, the same basic recipe that makes a diamond in the ground on Earth, though that idea remains a hypothesis, not a confirmed fact. The planet with no star. No sunrise has ever touched this world, because it has no star to give it one. 80 light-years from Earth, drifting completely alone, PSOJ 318.5-22 does not orbit anything at all. Spotted in 2013 by astronomer Michael Liu and colleagues at the University of Hawaii, Scanning the sky for faint, cold objects, this planet is a rogue, a free-floating world roughly 6 times the bulk of Jupiter, the largest planet in our own solar system, wandering through interstellar space with no star to hold it in orbit and no daylight to mark its years. Astronomers estimate it formed only about 12 million years ago, still young enough to glow faintly from its own leftover heat, rather than reflected starlight. Walk across its surface, if it even has one solid enough to stand on, and you would see no sunrise. Ever. Only a black sky lit by distant, indifferent stars that have nothing to do with the world under your feet. It was found by a survey built to catch faint brown dwarfs failing to become stars, not planets, because nothing about a lone, starless world looked like it belonged in a planet catalog at all. For years, nobody was even looking for a planet with no star to give it away. The water world that isn't. The name promises water. The reality is a haze thick enough to hide whatever lies beneath it. 48 light-years away, in the constellation Ophiuchus, GJ1214b was discovered in 2009 by astronomer David Charbonneau and collaborators, and studied closely by astronomer Laura Kreidberg using Hubble in 2014. Early data suggested a world several times the size of Earth wrapped in something wet, but follow-up observations found instead a thick, permanent haze, an atmosphere so dense with steam and clouds that it blocks any clear view of whatever lies below. Spend a summer there, if a summer even means anything under skies like that, and you would never see the ground. Only endless gray haze pressing down like fog that never lifts, thick enough to crush a probe long before it reached solid or liquid anything. Some scientists believe the deep atmosphere could sit above an ocean many times deeper than the Mariana Trench, Earth's deepest point, while others argue there may be no clear surface at all, just atmosphere fading gradually into whatever lies below. A world named for water may have no ocean you could ever stand in, only sky pressing down like water without a surface to break. If any of these worlds sound impossible, subscribe, because the next one might be even harder to believe.